Hey there, folks. Good evening and welcome to the Whitfield Report. Sorry we're starting a few minutes late tonight, but we had a few technical difficulties with importing the video that will be played for tonight's program. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. The contact info, as always, before we get started, you can follow me on Twitter at @SMD_NGC, hashtag Whitfield Report. You can follow me on Gab at Sam Whitfield, Instagram also at SamW_NGC. You can visit thesamwhitfield.com for all of my blogs and whatnot. Facebook.com/Whitfield Report. You can subscribe to the audio podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever else you get your audio podcast from. And I'm also told now that we're available on Amazon Alexa and or the Google Home. So if you have like either one of those two, I guess they're like home personal assistants or something like that, you can find the audio podcast over there. And as always, also subscribe to the YouTube channel and give us a like, and please subscribe. And you can also comment on the show live if you're in the chat room, which if you're watching this right now as I'm recording, then you already are in the chat room. So congrats to you, and as always, I try to get to the comments whenever I can, but sometimes they come in fast, so I don't always get to all of them, so apologies. At any rate, though, we have a pretty important show tonight. This show, folks, isn't going to focus so much on politics. There are some political things that were in the news tonight, that were in the news this week, that I was considering discussing tonight. But I've decided to focus more on more of like a human, social type topic tonight, because I think given the events of this last week with the suicide of Anthony Bourdain, as well as, I forget who the fashion designer was, but she also committed suicide this week. I think it's important that we have a dialogue and open discussion about suicide in this country, because I think it is an epidemic that has hit our country and our society at large quite heavily, unfortunately. And there are some misconceptions about suicide in this country. Yes. Kate Spade, thanks for letting me know. Alyssa, and welcome to the chat. There are some misconceptions about suicide in this country, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't really. Well, I don't like. They're popular, but I don't think that they're serving anyone any good. So, while I was getting the program started, I took the liberty of trying to find an article on the statistics of suicide, and honestly, these have varied. So I'm going to do a Google search on this once again, and Let me move my window out of the way a little bit. Okay, suicide statistics by gender. Okay, folks, so I just pulled up these statistics on suicide, and so I'm going to share my screen with you. These statistics on suicide I've pulled up come from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and this is a huge problem, as you can see. Okay? Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. Each year, 44,965 Americans die by suicide. For every suicide, there are 25 attempts. And suicides cost the U.S. $69 billion annually. Now, what I found interesting when I read this earlier while prepping for the show is white males accounted for 7 to 10% of suicides in 2016. And the rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men in particular. Now that's interesting, gang. Because middle-aged white males also are the most demonized groups here in America. Well, males just in general seem to be demonized, but specifically men in the middle age, and I would have to see more info on what that specifically means. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, suicide rates by age. In 2016, the highest suicide rate, 19.72%, was among adults between 45 and 54 years of age. The second highest rate, 18.98, occurred in those 85 years or older, which is actually kind of surprising to me. Younger groups have had consistently lower suicide rates than middle-aged and older adults. In 2016, adolescents and young adults aged 15 to 24 had a suicide rate of 13.5%, which is still huge, ladies and gentlemen. And then breaking it down by race and ethnicity, in 2016, the highest U.S. suicide rate, 15.17%, was among whites, and the second highest rate, 13.37%, was among American Indians and Alaska Natives. Much lower and roughly similar rates were found among Asians and Pacific Islanders at 6.62, and Black or African Americans, 6.03. Okay, so we have suicide stats by ethnicity and by age, and I know that this is a morbid topic, to discuss, but I do think it is important to cover, because this trend of suicide in America is a huge problem just in general. But what I've noticed more so in my lifetime is the subsequent glorification of suicide, it seems like. Right, when Robin Williams committed suicide a couple of years ago, there were all of these think pieces out there trying to justify his reasoning for suicide, and who were trying to make less than. Same with Chris Cornell, same with Kate Spade, and same with Anthony Bourdain to a certain extent, just this week. Now let me be clear. I think if you have suicidal thoughts, you need to call the suicide prevention hotline or find some other method of help. And to be clear, I myself have never had suicidal thoughts per se, but I have been severely depressed within my lifetime. You know, I grew up with a physical disability which wasn't easy to cope with, and at times still isn't easy to cope with emotionally. I think the most devastating part of my life, emotionally speaking, was when my parents got divorced. And there were times in high school where I was severely depressed too, because I remember at one point I had a teacher who had it out for me. I mean, she just hated my guts. I was never really successful with dating in high school, and then two of the girls I did manage to date, well, we had two nasty-ish breakups, so that was tough. But for me personally, I never had thoughts. I never actually considered committing suicide, because I knew that my life was valuable still. And I think that has in large part to do with the fact that my mother is one of the strongest people I know. And she really taught me to value myself as a person. She always pushed me, and she never made excuses for me growing up. But she also taught me self-worth and self-love and self-value, which are things that I don't think we teach in American society anymore. Specifically, we don't teach our young boys anymore. Specifically with young men. I remember when I was in high school. When I was in high school, we were one of the first classes. My class, the graduating high school class of 2013, was one of the first classes of young men in high school to be inundated with this whole politically correct bullshit feminist logic about how there's a rape culture epidemic and how all men are potential rapists and how the future is female and feminism is the new power. Now, what does feminism have to do with the male suicide rates in this country, you ask? Well, in my lifetime at least, I can tell you that the self-esteem of young men has gone down significantly. And I'm not blaming suicide directly on feminism. I think that suicide is ultimately a choice. I think it's a wrong choice. But I think depression among young men is definitely a big contributing factor, right? Young men now in schools, I'm not making this up. There are seminars, mandatory seminars in some high schools now. My high school is one of them, where there was literally a seminar when I was in high school called No Rape. And the premise of the seminar was basically that all men are potential rapists. And that, even non-aggressive sexual responses by men, such as checking a woman out or something like that, could be considered in the same vein as rape. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a teenager, and as a teenage boy, I couldn't stop staring at young women. I was one of those guys. I've always been inherently attracted to women. But I knew, I was confident in myself enough to know that what I was doing was equivalent to rape, or even sexual harassment in the least. Now, I think if you're constantly leering at women and acting creepy, that's one thing. But I don't think checking out women is the same thing as sexual harassment. It's just something that men do. But by the same token, I think that these new feminists who are saying that staring at women is the same thing as rape, well, I think in the minds of many young men, that confuses them. And now we live in a society where, the future is female and men are basically losing their worth and their value among young women in this society. And that can inherently be depressing. Inherently. Add to that pressures on social media, pressures in school. Add to the fact that a lot of these kids are on Ritalin and other behavioral modification drugs. Well, I think that just spells out a whole mess for suicide. I think it is a big problem. Depression does lead to suicide, and it's one that we need to address as individuals. And one of the things I think we can do is teach both young men and women the value of each other and themselves. And let's see. Yeah, okay, so now I'm looking at the comments. Sorry, okay, so that's why I'm getting a little sidetracked. I'm trying to read the comments. And okay, Ben, to address you real quick, I'm not talking about gun control this episode. And furthermore, I don't think that addressing guns or making guns an issue, that's not going to solve anything. If we want to take guns away, as you're suggesting, Ben, sorry, we might as well ban nooses as well, and ropes, because there are a lot of hangings. For that matter, we might as well ban household products too. Drano is one that a lot of people use. Yeah, Gabe is absolutely right. People will find a way to commit suicide if they're committed. Enough, sadly. Okay, so sorry for getting sidetracked with the comments, although I must admit it is kind of fun to read these off. And Ben, I'm not just looking at the statistics and going, oh well. But the tool and the methodology for suicide isn't the problem. It's a symptom, but it's not a problem. It's not the cause. I think, like I said, the root cause among male suicide is low self-esteem in this new age of the future is female. And a lot of people, they're not going to like that I'm saying that, but it's true. If you talk to most of if you talk to any regular teenage or males or 20-somethings these days, a lot of them are insecure because they don't want to get falsely accused of rape or sexual assault or something. We've basically given feminists free reign on basically saying that if a guy even looks at you strangely or whatnot, that's considered sexual assault now. And just that stigma alone can really be detrimental to young men, ages 15 to 24. Alright, now, let's tackle the cause, or at least what my theory is for the cause of suicide ages 45 to 54. That one's a lot more challenging because I think, there are more various reasons. But again, I think that basically it's men who struggle with self-esteem and depression to begin with anyway. Anthony Bourdain in particular, while he's admitted that he was an alcoholic and he had drug problems, and plus being a chef is a very high stress job. Very high stress indeed. Ben, don't be quiet. I'm not saying that we need to institute a national program so that every man can get a girlfriend. But what I'm saying is the social stigma that men are inherently potential rapists is an asinine remark in and of itself. The statement potential rapist is such a loaded term that the feminists have created, right? Because for all you know, I could be a potential serial killer. Anyone here in the chat could be a potential serial killer. The word potential basically means could be. Right. Chris, No, I addressed that at the beginning of the program. Maybe you weren't here, but I have not, I've been severely depressed before, but no question about it. But I have not, I've never thought of committing suicide myself. Like I said, I've had enough self-confidence in myself as a person to I basically had enough self-esteem and enough confidence in myself to know that suicide is stupid. Because what does it fix at the end of the day? Nothing. If you take your own life, you're basically being selfish. You're taking away from those around you who love you. And at the end of the day, you're not really solving problems, you're just creating more for others. Right? I've never honestly never considered committing suicide, because I knew that despite all my problems, that I could overcome through faith and through leaning on people that I could trust. There were times when I thought about it for a split second, but never really enough to fully, plan anything out, if that makes sense. Because whenever I would think about it, I would also think to what life would be like for those around me if I were gone. And Gabe, welcome to the mod squad. I don't know why you weren't a mod before, but anyway, there you go. Sorry, that was the fact that Gabe was a mod was actually distracting me for a while. As I was saying, though, the big problem with suicide and with it being a selfish act, with it being the ultimate selfish act, is you're not considering those around you. And like I said, I'll admit, I've been depressed, and I thought when I was younger, when I was a teenager, and when I was going through a whole bunch of crap in high school, I admit that I did think about it on occasion, but never enough to really, take my own life. And, oh boy, the trolls are out. In full force tonight, folks. To whoever this, a Cruz person is, let me just state this. I think, I think we're not trying to, it's not so much trying to dictate other people's lack of life, but it's being selfish, right? If you have kids, young kids, but even adult kids, is your kid going to be better off without you in their life? Are they going to be better off without a mother or without a father? And welcome, Eric. Welcome, Eric. Yeah, you have the right to do whatever you want to your own self. But and you're right that we will also all die, but why end things early? Let me ask you that, to go back to your own question. Why end things early? Even if life is as crappy as can be, why not roll the dice and see how things will play out? That's my question to you. Sierra is right, too. I'm not denying that depression is highly destructive. I've been there. But you also have, but a mark of someone who is strong is also someone who is willing to fight back from that edge. And I don't want to name names, but people in this chat, have been sharing their stories, and it's clear that everyone there are a lot of people in here who have struggled with it. But, the fact that so many of these people are willing to fight back is, against suicide and against depression, is, it shows the fact that you think this is a this is a steep subject. Let's see. So I don't know if you guys can notice, but I really didn't do any show prep for this one. This one is more of just like a read the comments type of show. Well, if someone was saying that religion was, they're calling for suicide, let's take that logic there for a sec. I would agree with Kimmy. It does go against God's nature. But, also, what if your God, supposedly, what if you live in a religion or a God, supposedly, that condones child rape and molestation? Okay, are you going to condone that, even though it's harming others? Let's see. Yeah, Gabe, you're right. We're not all going to agree. And I don't think anyone has one right answer to I don't think anyone has the right answer to solve this problem necessarily. I do think that I do think that medication can help to a certain extent. Someone brought that up earlier too. I do think medication can help to a certain extent, but what I don't like is the fact that I know of a few people who are using medication as a crutch to deal with depression. I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, but I do know of people who have abused antidepressants and then have ended up committing suicide anyway because of a chemical imbalance and because of other circumstances. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Kimmy too. I do agree that with Katrina too, that sometimes medication is the problem. And Eric, I didn't realize that you were not a wrench on this channel. So welcome to the mod squad, Evil Eric. I also just realized that John Neary is live streaming right now, and he's probably wondering where all his peeps are too. So sorry about that, Neary, but your half Irish cousin is stealing your audience. So but aside from the philosophical conversation about the chat, let me just say this. I really admired, even though he was a big lib, I really admired Anthony Bourdain for what he did in his career. I think he was. Well, I really enjoyed. I never saw much of his CNN show because it was on CNN, obviously, but I did enjoy No Reservations. That was indeed a good show, and what was kind of disturbing was I was literally watching like an episode because they have those posted on Netflix now, I think. And I was watching an episode of that the night before he committed suicide. So, but anyway, Eric, how are you watching me on the Apple Watch? I have an Apple Watch, and as far as I know, you can't actually watch things on the Apple Watch. Do you mean like the iPad, or do you have a second gen Apple Watch? So, all right. Well, while we're talking about Gabe Neary's doing his own live stream. Well, maybe he realized that maybe he realized I was doing the show, or oh, you know what? Maybe because I'm getting on my desktop, maybe that's like an old, maybe it's like an old notification I'm getting on my computer. I'm not. Yeah, that's what it is. Well, Chris, if you're ever interested, I don't do Google Hangouts, but I do streams via Skype too. You know, and I'm thinking I might not make an audio podcast version of this because it's just me reading the streams. Although I might do more like an official show during the week. Who knows? But yeah, I do miss running on the streams. I'm sorry I deceived you. I'm sorry I deceived you, Gabe. Blame Google Chrome. They deceived me. I got a pop up for John's show, and then I clicked on it. It was like from 2 days ago. So, anyway, though, you want to talk about something else that is ridiculous? The fact that the Miss America pageant has now banned the swimsuit portion of the competition, which wasn't that the whole purpose of the Miss America competition to begin with? I mean, I mean, did anybody else did anybody else ever watch that? Okay, okay, Kimmy, see you in the DZ later. But yeah, look, a bunch of conservatives have been freaking out about the Miss America pageant and how feminism, is ruining that too, which it is. Let me just say this about the Miss America thing. I don't really care. I've never really watched the Miss America pageant. I don't think this is going to help their ratings at all. I think this move is going to do basically what the NFL did, when they decided to kneel. I think that they're I think that the Miss America pageant's ratings are going to go down in and of itself as a whole. But I think if they want to get rid of the one thing that people tune in for, that's on them. But at the same time, I think it is stupid. I don't think that the Miss America. I don't think that the Miss America pageant or the bikini competition was the worst thing to happen. So people are freaking out about it being banned or discontinued, I guess. Well, we'll see how this goes. I think it'll be back. I think it'll be back next year, probably. That's my guess. Yeah. Gabe's right too. Woke fat Miss America trying to compete in Miss World. Yeah, and yeah, like that's going to go anywhere. We Weasel has a great comment. Miss America sucks. Now Miss United Kingdom is worth watching. All of those ugly ladies in burqas. Welcome to Londonistan. You know, you know, Weasel, I'd like to think that maybe you're joking, but but I don't know if you're joking. Like now I'm actually tempted to look that up and see if they have like a Miss United Kingdom. Okay, in fact, here's how tempted I am. Let's go back. Let's go back to the stream. Let's see if Weasel is actually joking or if this is true. There's United. There's a Miss United States competition too, or that wasn't what I was. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Weasel was trolling me. Let's see. You could. Okay. Oh, hey Chuck, aka Wylan. We know that's you, Chuck, or that's either that's Chuck or that's Neely. I'm not sure who. Whoops. Don't want to be showing the admin tools. Let's see. You can see half a naked. Why tune into TV for that? It's probably more interesting to see talents. Well, okay. Oh, that's Jamie. Sorry. My bad. People use aliases in here all the time. So. Wow, this is amusing. I have 15 likes. I've been here for an hour, and I've basically talked about nothing on this podcast. Nothing. This is like an episode of Seinfeld. Okay, well, that's that's okay. I guess everyone is going to have like a spotty stream from now and again. Not that I'm ready to wrap this thing up quite yet, but like I said, I just think that the fact that they're banning the the swimsuit part of Miss America, I think it's dumb. But I think it's like I said, I think it'll be back next year. That's my bet. Yeah, I have, yeah, my podcast is like Seinfeld, the show about nothing tonight. Now, Dax, are you saying I'm George Costanza because people because I would either get Kramer or Jerry himself. So when people I've never gotten a George Costanza. I've never gotten a George Costanza comparison once. But like I said, I have gotten Kramer or Seinfeld himself. By the way, Kramer, whose actual real name I'm forgetting now. The guy who plays Kramer can now wake up every day knowing that he is no longer the most racist and bigoted comedian, because now Owen Benjamin has taken his slot for that. So, Kramer might actually have a shot at returning. And also, Michael Richards. Yeah, Michael Richards is now more relevant. Think about this. Than Owen Benjamin is. People dislike Michael Richards less than Owen Benjamin now. So there are some. So that's just that's just for the Bears who who might be watching. I know that Owen was ranting about suicide on his stream earlier, and so by comparison, my whole thing must be pretty tame. So I'm just having a good time reading the chat. So, but yeah, we covered Miss America. We covered Anthony Bourdain. Kate Spade is another one that's kind of weird. I don't know much about Kate Spade other than that she was a fashion designer, and she made handbags and later on iPad cases geared more towards women. Okay, who took away the one like? We were at 15 and now we're only at 14. So, alright, I guess even though we've kind of been talking, for a while and free associating, I guess I'll open this up to just open line. Are there any topics that you think I should cover in the remaining time? Which is until about 10 o'clock. Are any other topics? We can talk anything, music, politics, or anything I should bring up. Oh, I see. Well, Remy, I would love to have you on my. Oh, Weasel, there was a Tommy Robinson rally in London today. Yeah, I heard about that. What's going on there? Any progress with Tommy, or yeah. Well, Weasel, it's no surprise that it's not being covered with the MSM. Now, Weasel, here's my question for you. When are you coming? Well, let me rephrase this. Would you ever consider moving to the United States? That's my first question for you. B, have you ever visited the United States? If so, when? If not, do you ever will visit? I'm sure that we have some dangerines who would love to put you up. So, oh, and Rummy, if you want to get on the stream, there actually is a way. I would have to add you via Skype though. If you wanted to jump on here and just shoot the shit. That's good. That's good for you that you want to stay and fight, Weasel. So for those listening on the audio, Weasel responded to my question. Yes, I would, and I'm privileged to be able to pick up and come. I want to stay and fight. Well, then, good on you, laddie. So that's my good / crappy Sean Connery impersonation. So, alright, well, we've been going for about an hour and a half, and I think we're going to wrap up. So, but anyway, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight to more or less this free association stream. Real quick before we sign off, I do want to make an announcement that next week I will have Christian Blatt, co-host of the Dennis Miller Option podcast. He will be my guest next week on the show. We're going to pre-record the conversation this week. He and I will be talking about his podcast that he co-hosts with Dennis Miller on Podcast One called the Dennis Miller Option, and as well as his own podcast, and as well as just how comedy and political correctness don't mix. So, let's see. Sorry you missed the showbiz. Yeah, I guess my notifications aren't really working for anyone. But anyway, like I said, that'll be next week's show when we have Christian Blatt. So, anyway, I want to thank you all for watching the stream tonight. From all of us here at NGC Media, good night, God bless, and God save this great nation.